Hello and welcome to Beat 'em Up Wrestling. We're going to be talking about the Montreal Screwjob. Finally, we've been talking about it for a while.
Forever.
I think this is kind of going to be a personal thing because I'm a Bret Hart fan and you're a Shawn Michaels fan. So even when we were watching it, we were going back and forth.
I think that's a given, though. I think most of the females out there, I don't say it like that, but like, you know.
Yeah, and most of the cool dudes, you know.
Cool dudes want shades. They want to be Bret Hart. Such a divide.
Yeah, but you know, like this episode kind of had me thinking a little bit too. I mean, the whole time growing up, I hated this whole situation because I was a huge Bret Hart fan. It felt like he was betrayed, and then he went to WCW, and WCW did nothing with him.
They dropped the ball. I mean, Bischoff even says it in the interview.
They had the hottest star. They could have he could have been the Stone Cold of WCW.
But they had already signed in so many people already.
But but I'm saying, like, he went against McMahon. He spit on McMahon's face.
Yeah.
You could have done so much with him, and they just dropped it because at that time egos were running wild, and it was all about Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
It was. That's all it was.
Like, I am not denying that the man got screwed. That's the one thing is I'm not denying it. But as you're watching these stories about Snuka, you know, and what he did to Dino, you know, how he just like didn't care about what was going with like the drug abuse that was going on with Eddie.
You're
and
referring
Benoit.
to
like
McMahon?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, just everything that he's done. It's hard for me to believe that Shawn Michaels would just be that guy full in and full out. Because I've heard very nice stories about this man. And this is him now.
But when he was the Heartbreak Kid, he was an asshole.
But also, think about it, where the status of Bret Hart would be. When you're top dog, I'm sorry, there's hardly never top dogs now, especially back in the day where everybody had this persona where you're like alpha, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and the one
Hulk Hogan was the top dog.
And the one part I didn't like about it is what I told you, which brings me back and forth when they go to the part where they're talking to Russo, Cornette, and McMahon.
Oh my God, I love the Cornette-Russo rivalry.
Yeah, those two, I just, like, I don't like Cornette, but I like Cornette when he talks about Russo.
I like Cornette more than Russo.
Oh yeah, I'll take that over that. Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Yeah. But they're back and forth, and you get this viewpoint of McMahon saying stuff like that, and they'll cut to Bret Hart saying, like, you know, he said that he was going to give the belt up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure, you know, since he was vulnerable and he came out and did the interview, Shawn Michaels didn't, that he probably saw the takes and the edits and this before it aired. What he never said was, did McMahon ever call him, and did he ever agree to how he wanted to lose the belt?
I think it came out that he didn't want to lose the belt, that he was just going to hand over the belt.
But that, and like, and it goes back to what Cornette says, where that was the thing. If you left or something happens, and even now, if you get injured, you forfeit the belt. But I don't think he helped.
His ego, Bret Hart's ego, got in the way.
But then, see, that's his point. Is so how big of an ego do we not know he had at that time either?
I mean,
I'm not saying Shawn Michaels was not being a total dick because he was.
No, I still think Shawn Michaels was being a dick.
No, I'm saying he was.
But I agree that
I just don't feel like nobody was giving.
Traditionally, you can't leave like that when you're leaving the company. You're gonna go out losing. That's just what they do. I mean, you're not gonna, especially after what Medusa did when she took the WWE belt and threw it in the trash. McMahon was not gonna allow that to happen again, especially to his main title. So yeah, I do think Bret Hart did not want to lose it to Shawn Michaels because of their history. I think if McMahon would have given it to somebody else, he would have been more easy to go down. But at this point, Shawn Michaels was rising. He was the rising star.
This was the top dog that they had.
Could they have given it to Stone Cold at that time? They could have. Because Stone Cold was coming up too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It gave me a new perspective about it.
Yeah.
I do feel that there was more than one person at fault at this. I think a lot of egos got involved. I do think Shawn Michaels was in on it.
Yeah, I think he was in on it, but I honestly, like, I mean, like, you know, like, I know we were, like, you had said it, and somebody else said it on Twitter, too. They're like, oh, Shawn Michaels was crying because he was scared to get his ass kicked, too. And I'm like, you know, but that's all hearsay. That's all stuff, too. It's like, for Bret Hart to be like, you know, he was crying, you know, just like, I looked at him, you know, he couldn't lie. He couldn't lie right. And it's like, he knew. And just like how Bret Hart knew inside that he was going to get screwed. Like, okay, so if you knew you were going to get screwed and you had this feeling, then what were you doing to secure the fact that you could win it right? You know, I mean, lose it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't know. It's just when it came down to it, it's like if I was somebody in his position and I still hated his guts, like if I still hated Shawn Michaels' guts, which he had every right to at that point, I would just be like, look, all bullshit aside, dude, like let's make this one last good match. You know, I'm like, talk it out.
But Shawn Michaels didn't want to hear him out. Yeah,
no,
he didn't want to talk to him either. They both didn't want to.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at that point Bret Hart was like, okay, well, you can't pay me my contract, so screw you, McMahon. Yeah. And he probably didn't want to hear McMahon out either at that point because he was already kind of set his eyes on him going to WCW.
And McMahon already knew that he was going to WCW, so
it was like 2 months or something like that. Like that's a long time period, even for like, you know, when you hear about, like, I'm not trying to bring up my job, but like in the library world, when you hear a director's going to retire and it's like a 3-month transitional period, you already see like month 1 that person's checked out. Mm-hmm. You know, and they start to act a certain way. I'm not saying he acted a certain way, but like I can see McMahon responding to that the minute it happened.
He should have done it how CM Punk did. You don't say that you're leaving. You don't say that you're staying. You just play out your contract.
Yeah, but it was all, you know, and then everybody was hating the Nash and Scott Hall thing. We're saying that, you know, if he was so pissed off and he knew this was a work, why would he would do WCW? It looks so, the camera's pan.
But I don't think McMahon,
you know what I'm saying? No, but like. Yeah.
I don't think McMahon would have allowed him to talk about WCW, so I don't think that was planned.
But, I mean, he gave birth to one of the most vicious sides of McMahon that has stood around forever, which is Mr. McMahon.
Yeah.
Persona.
Which Brody Lee does amazingly.
Yeah, which Brody Lee does a better McMahon than he does right now, because McMahon's kind of checked out. When he comes on and does his whole bit, it's kind of played out. It's
because he plays I'm the good guy at times, and then he comes out and he's like, I'm the bad guy. Kind of like what Stephanie McMahon does.
Yeah. Yeah, but it just sucks because, like, you see Bret Hart talking about it, he looks defeated. Like, he never really got his, like...
Could you imagine his career would have been like if they would have if WCW would have given him a chance? Or they would have wrote him right? Or if McMahon and him could have just gotten their egos out of the way and he would have stood in WWE, like... Him and Stone Cold
had some of the best matches.
They would have continued doing some stuff. But all we got was, after that, was the downfall of Bret Hart because WCW didn't know how to use him. And he was such a technician in the ring. He was, I mean, one of the best in ring workers. I
mean, because by the time he went there, WCW was going to be becoming a sinking ship.
Yeah, and then it was... I mean,
because it gave way to DX and everything else that was going to happen in the years to come. So, like...
And then NWO was sweltering up so much. And, and then you got the finger win by Hulk Hogan against...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like... They just... I don't know, it was a missed opportunity, and it's unfortunate because Bret Hart's career could have been... I mean, it's historic right now. He's a Hall of Famer and all that, but... We missed out on a lot of more interesting matches with him.
Yeah.
Because of egos.
And it goes to what Bischoff was saying, that he, like, you know, the storylines might have sucked or whatever, but, like, he checked out to a certain point, too. And you can even see when he's talking about his time in WCW, he's just, like, I don't know, like, maybe he never wanted to go to WCW. He just wanted it. But, I mean, like, if you like your storyline, he was the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sometimes it's not about money. Sometimes it's about where you're at.
I think when he went to WCW, he was expecting something else, and then when he realized that it was a lot of...
He expected a check. He got the check he wanted.
No, I mean... but I don't think he left for the money. I think
he did. He literally said that he couldn't get paid his check that was promised, so he went to WCW, who promised him more money. He literally said that.
Yeah, but at that point, because McMahon was refusing to work with him, too.
Yeah, they were losing out.
It was just... like I said, it was his ego that got in the way, too. It was McMahon's ego. It was Shawn Michaels' ego.
And, like, McMahon didn't have the money.
And then Kevin Nash and Scott
Hall. Well, maybe at that time, I don't know. Like, things have changed. Like, you know, so much.
Yeah, he had the money, but...
I mean, yeah, like, I don't know the stocks at that time and what was going on and things like that. You know, like, I would say, you know, we stole the pay-per-views from other people. Like,
no,
you know, like...
They had money, though. At that time, I think it was getting close to the hottest...
Because everybody was jumping ship at that time. Because WCW was the hotter one of the two. But at that moment.
Their viewerships were even higher than they are now. So...
Yeah. So it was interesting to see. I just felt like, man, it's like sometimes we see legends, like when you go back and you saw like Piper and like Legends House, they have this thing
That's
about them
another one
still.
that they didn't use good in WCW was Piper. WCW.
Yeah, they wasted a lot.
Yeah,
of
WCW was great, but they focused so much around the NWO.
Yeah.
That they didn't really do anything with the people around them. Like they didn't do any other storyline other than NWO. It was all about the NWO. And I think that's what ended up killing WCW.
Yeah, but their cruisers were still better.
Yeah, I mean, but then
that gave birth to the biggest stars in WWE.
Yeah. But they weren't doing anything with their cruiserweights.
That's what I'm saying. Though, like the cruiserweights, like Eddie and them, when they left, they became super huge.
Chris Benoit, Eddie, Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio, all these people were in WCW, and they were just the opening act.
Yeah, but then became the main act.
Yeah.
I mean, even little Rey Mysterio. I mean, compared to everybody else that has come through WWE, he was still given the biggest stage.
Yeah, it's just. I think that's a failure of Bishop, even though he doesn't want to own it. He did not know what to do with so much talent.
He wasn't as good as the writers he thinks he was, and it's crazy to say that. Like even like people like Russo and like Cornette and McMahon together wrote better.
But Russo goes to WCW later on, and he kills WCW.
But like even the crazy gimmicks he had still drew an audience.
He had the Will Arnett gimmick. So,
yeah, I know.
So
yeah,
Russo forever will be.
And he had that brawl for all. That's good enough.
Yeah, that's another bad one. Oh, and then he had the 3 cages stacked because it was tied to the movie. They did that into a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
it was one of the clunkiest matches in real life ever. Because you had people climbing a cage.
If there's anything you ever watch about these things, if these things become too depressing for you, just find the ones where it's Jim Cornette and Russo fighting and wait until the last second of the episode where he talks about what he wants to do before he dies.
Oh, it was on the Montreal one, right?
This one was about he better be wheeled up. The other one he wanted to like piss on his grave.
He wants to piss on his grave.
Yeah, and there's several things he wants to do to this man before he dies.
He says he's gonna outlive Vince Russo just so he could piss on his grave.
And he's like, somehow he's like he can't control or move. His wife has to roll his body in a wheelchair. He doesn't care how he gets there. But like, it's funny. But like, like Russo, he's I don't know, man.
He should have never been in wrestling. You can tell he doesn't care about wrestling.
Yeah, he's the epitome of like the person, like we don't work for the wrestlers. We don't do wrestling. So we can say what we would like to say, but to say that you know what's best and then say, you know what, it's just wrestling. It's like, no, dude, you can't do that.
These are people's lives.
Yeah, you can't do that. So I get Cornette on that. And I understand when he doesn't like gimmicks because of the way he views wrestling. I get it. So that's, his own thing, but.
There's just no saving grace for Russo.
No, there isn't. There's a little bit of saving grace when it comes to
because Cornette he's old school wrestling. I mean, you see
old school racism. It's just one.
you see it in his eyes when he goes into. I'm not even gonna acknowledge that, right?
With the new Jack episode, man, it's like
but
you allowed for them to do so much crazy stuff. You're like. That was just where we were at in the country. It was cool. It's like you provoked it. I'm sorry.
But no, he loves wrestling.
He does. He really does.
So,
but it was a cool episode because it just you get to see some legends. Like I said, Scott Hall and was Nash in there or just Hall?
No,
just
it was
Hall,
just
right?
Hall. Yeah.
And of course, listening to Bret Hart, seeing the raw footage.
It would have been nice to have Shawn Michaels there, but
I hope Shawn comes out and says something. When he's past all this, I
don't know. He's losing too much. Maybe he'll lose.
I know.
Memory soon.
I don't know. He's a different person now, so I hope that one of these days he can just, talk openly about it.
He's admitted it. He was an asshole for a long time.
He's a pretty boy. What do you expect? I think everybody was a pretty boy was an asshole sometimes.
And I think he had a revelation and realized how much of an asshole he was. And he's, from a lot of the stories that we've heard of him now, he's become a way better person to be around with. Before he was kind of annoying to be around, but now he's more down to earth. So he lost his smile but gained his heart.
Shut up. Smile, hair, everything. God. Anyways, I like Shawn Michaels, but
you still popped for him.
Hey,
just recently.
Recently, it wasn't even just recently. There was a rumor we went to like a show.
It was when the DX came back before their Saudi Arabia show.
It was Roman Reigns' last October performance in Chicago before he came out saying he had his bout with leukemia again.
Yeah.
And there was a rumor, and some guy, we were on the floor, we had good seats. It was just a regular Raw. And some guy was like, I heard DX is here. And I'm just like, shut the hell up, dude. Like, it's a random Raw. And I'm just like, for real, it's a build-up. It's going to be... So then Triple H comes out. And I'm just like, okay, this is cool. I've never seen Triple H live. Like I said, we were poor kids growing up. So we barely just got on to watching wrestling live in the last, 2 years.
No.
Yeah.
We saw CM Punk live.
Oh, 3 years then.
No,
three, 4
way
years.
More years than that.
Well, those were house shows, though. I don't know if I consider house shows because I kind of hate them now because I know so many wrestlers get injured at house shows. But, legit, Raw, a pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
We barely started doing all that. And then when he came out, he was talking about he had some friends with him. And I was like, oh, no, it's going to happen. And then they hit his music. And I looked like an anime character jumping between the seats. Because there was, you have the floor seats and there's 2 sections. We were in the second section, so there was open space. And, I was so happy. It's just one of those things where, back to, our Pro Wrestling Crate, when you hear Kurt Angle's You Suck chant and you want to be part of something, I've always wanted to hear Sexy Boy and hear his music. And I was one of those cool things where I
always wanted Bret Hart's glasses, but I'm never going to get those. I always wanted to be that kid in the front row.
My cousin always wanted to be that kid.
That's going to be something I'm never going to be able to check out on my bucket list unless I go to meet him at one of those signings and have sunglasses and be like, can you put these on me? He'll probably be like, what the hell?
I think if you told him the story behind it, though, I think it'd probably be one of those, I was that kid that always wanted to, but I was poor, dude. I was, legit poor. So for a second here, can I just pretend I'm, 10-year-old me? That's how I felt when the AEW, when I got into the ring and stuff. When they all turned around and stared at me, I was like, it was too many people. Yeah. But, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming. Yeah. I probably would feel the same way if I meet Shawn Michaels. It'd just be one of those things where I always wanted to meet him. But good episode.
Yeah, this was an episode where at least you don't leave depressed. The only depressing thing, like I said, is Bret Hart never reaches his potential again in WCW. So the Montreal Screwjob wasn't just the end of his reign in WWE. It was the end of his reign as being considered a top performer in American wrestling.
Well, for me, the hard part while watching it is, once again, when you hear these stories, and I don't even know if it's because, if you look at Scott Hall and you look at, even when you see Nash, he looks a lot better now. I know he's had a lot of injuries and issues with his knees
and quads.
Yeah, and Bret Hart, they just look so defeated. It's not what you vision. Like I said, going back to Piper, even before Piper passed, when you saw Piper, he was still Piper. When you see, not saying you're old, I always say this, when I met you, when you see Dustin, there's still a fire. There's something in them. And I think that contributes to the way the road was when they were paved.
Bret Hart does look defeated.
It's like a paved road, and your story never went the way you wanted to. And, I'm not sure if AEW if it was never existed, I don't know if Dustin would have been one of those wrestlers where he would have felt like this is not how I wanted to end my career. Because now he's, on fire. I don't think Bret got that completion, and he always is gonna look like that. He looked like that when he did the Hall of Fame thing before he got tackled.
I mean, he has a passion for wrestling. He does.
Yeah, the happiest I've seen him is when he showed the belt at AEW. Yeah. That was the first time I've actually seen him, almost like something came back, And I feel like he has a chance. I don't know if you ever considered being a coach or something, but he needs something one more time, one last thing for himself. I don't know his physical, capabilities or anything like that. But it just sucks. We got to see Undertaker do an amazing thing with AJ, even though it was theatric with the boneyard thing. No, but that was something that I'm like, holy crap. I haven't been able to say something about the Undertaker for a while.
His last match that was really good was the CM Punk
match. Yeah. Yep. But this one was it was cool. It made me feel like a kid watching Undertaker again.
And it covered a lot of because most of his matches there's breaks for him to catch his breath.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was theatrical, it didn't. He literally looked like an
a
undead
badass.
man.
Yeah, he looked like a badass. The American badass.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a good episode. So I guess we're gonna get into some more.
Not really sure which one comes in after season 1, and I forgot which this week's was.
I think we get into some more drugs and murder though. So this was a good break.
Drugs and murder. If you like ID Discovery, you'll like these next few episodes.
Yeah. So,
but we were talking about it to our friends. We're just like, all we know is, man, McMahon, dude. Seriously, one day
covered up so much.
One day and have a come to Jesus talk, man.
Yeah, karma.
Karma is one hell of a thing. I just hope that you have enough aces in your closet. It doesn't matter how many make-a-wishes you do.
Yeah. I mean, anyways, if you want to hear about him covering up murder, check out our Snuka episode where we talk about it, and I'm sure we'll have some more stuff coming up with him. So that was our episode for the Montreal Screwjob. This was Beat 'em Up Wrestling, and this was our Dark Side of the Ring review. I think I just said that twice.
It's cool. That's all right. Peace out, guys. Take it easy.